Hello, welcome back to New Meta Podcast. This is episode 115. We're going to be revisiting episode 1 today, looking at POS 4 and maybe a very, very brief reintroduction sort of deal for any new listeners that might have joined us since way back when. Marco and Adam join me as always, but not just any old Adam. This is no longer the come dine with me we know. This is Dr. Come Dine with me. How does it feel to be intellectually superior to the plebdom of me and Marco?
I feel no different. I feel nothing except relief.
Yeah, you got like a mild sense of accomplishment, and then you came back 1-2 ranked games in a row, and that's been the peak of the last month. As opposed to getting your doctorate.
I got to have a bit of a meme. I made my Steam name Dr. Come Dine with me for like 3 games, and they're pretty bad, and I just immediately changed it back. It's like I deserved this.
Yeah, you didn't get the respect you deserve from the enemies. Feels bad. Marco, likewise, welcome to the pod. How are you doing this week?
Thank you. No major accomplishment, quite on par. Went for a run. Is that on par with a doctorate?
You did manage to get quite a few kills on... What was that game that we played yesterday? I was Slark.
It's Lena.
Oh, Lena, that was it, yeah. You had a nice Lena performance. I respect a good Lena performance. So.
Yeah, Lena. It's a fun hero. Race car.
It's a fun hero. What build did you go?
So I think I went the only build one can go. So I went Boots of Travel first, into Yules, into BKB, into... Did I get Daedalus then Shiva, or Shiva then Daedalus? I think Daedalus after BKB. So Race Car, into Magic Immune, Monster, into DPS, into a bit more armor. Fun game, yeah.
I mean, we're already transitioning into how our game's been a little bit here, but I find Lena builds fun as well. Like whether or not you go down the BOT first route. I rarely do that. I used to go Phase Yules, Shadowblade, or Phase Yules BKB sometimes, but Phase Yules Ags as well. But now I go Brown Boots, Yules, BOTs. I don't never get BOT first.
Yeah, I was inspired, I think, because of either a Lena or a Shadow Fiend I saw build Boots of Travel into Yules. And made me think, maybe actually, yeah, it's just more farmy and you can connect with your team a bit easier in that early game if you go BOTs first. And do I need the Yules that rapidly? Often if it's like 10 minutes, 8 minutes in the game, well, you don't get Yules at that time, but you could have BOTs at that time. And yeah, it felt like I didn't need the Yules first. So it felt like a nice build-up, just quite farmy, mobile. I think it's very important to be mobile. So yeah, it felt good.
Definitely, yeah. And I've personally been going more down the Daedalus route recently, as opposed to the Ags spell amp route. You get the damage talent at 10, and you go Fiery Souls at 15 or 20 or whenever it is, and I like that route a lot now. Get BKB obviously, and sort of stand and hit rather than punch in and out with spells and blow it with an Ags. Obviously, some heroes, like you're against a TB or you're against an AM, Ags can be really good value there, or against a Jug as well. It can be really good value just to blow up someone. But in general, I really like the Daedalus route as well.
When you can stand your ground with a BKB, Shivas with the armor, Fiery Souls just slapping, you're a man fighter. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, definitely. Let's do this brief reintroduction then. Adam, what is your story? What is your life? I mean, in Dota, I suppose, in particular, but what's going on for you?
From the beginning? I
mean, from Dota, I suppose. I mean, you can indulge the listeners as much as you want with your personal life. I mean,
no,
I'm sure.
I thought you just meant the beginning of my Dota life.
Yeah, man, life?
Let's go.
Life.
What's the difference?
I don't know, man. I've been playing for a long time. It's got to be 7 years at this point. Jeez. I think I started December 2012. That's a long time.
I know.
Really, no breaks. It ruined every other game I've ever liked.
Yeah, as is the Dota way. I always have to hide the like hours played if anyone's ever around when I'm on my computer. I'm always like self-conscious of like someone peering over and see my whatever it is 4,500 hours on Dota. I'm like,
that's a badge of honor.
I'm
almost at 7,500.
Nice, that is strong.
It's funny when people talk about other games, like casual console games or something, like, oh yeah, sank 50 hours. God, it's so crazy, so wild. And then you're there like trying to hide the fact you got this 5-digit figure just like haunting you at night.
Yeah, it used to give you a time played figure on Call of Duty because when you were a 12-year-old sweaty COD player, it's always like, oh, you're 8th prestige, but you did it in 7 days played, and now I'm sitting here and I've just looked. It's not 4.5. I've peaked over 5, so we're into the 5K, so that's pretty strong. But at least you're immortal, man. You have something to show for it. You've achieved the top, whatever it is, 1%.
It's like 0.1.
I think it's lower than that. Yeah,
is it?
I don't know.
Oh, I suppose so. Yeah. Yeah, it must be higher than that, actually, yeah.
Just look, I haven't even gotten to a year of game played time. I'm at 312 days, apparently, or somewhere around there. Only only 3% of my life. My waking life.
With Dota open. That is
more of my waking life, but yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah, very strong. And what position and heroes would you say flavor your Dota experience?
Okay, yeah, so if we're going through if we're doing this reintroduction thing, I'm a primarily support player. I like icy heroes like Crystal Maiden and Lich. Those are my two favorites. But there was a good 5-year, maybe 4-year period where all I did was random. So I really don't have a lot of games played on. Like, it's pretty even amongst all the heroes. My most played is Crystal Maiden with 230 matches, which isn't very many when you have over like 6,500 matches total.
Yeah. Yeah, I have more than that on, I think, how many heroes? I don't know. 3 heroes I have over 200. So that shows that mine's much more concentrated, I suppose. Marco, you're the other immortal here, so you can get yours out of the way, and then I can bring us back down to like trench reality when I go over my Dota.
And then also, I also say that so Marco's going to be the flashy player, the mechanically intensive player. I'm the hero or the player that likes to annoy people. So I liked Lich when sacrifice was a thing. I like Venomancer, especially when they're like you can reduce regen. That type of stuff. It's like I like things that make people annoyed, not necessarily they're that flashy of a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Denying a Blink Dagger with a Veno ward is top tier Dota gaming, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, for sure. And annoying in a quiet way, like you're not last picking Broodmother, like, oh my god, this is so annoying. More like, yeah, getting a ward, getting Poison Sting so you can't blink, just like the peak. Marco, what's going on over there? You're the OG player. You're the old man. You're the youngest here, but you're also the old man when it comes to Dota.
That's funny and maybe quite sad, but yeah, I've been playing since Dota 1. It's over 10 years ago those times. It's over half my life has just been invested into this world. However, we've passed that. Old Man Fear, honestly, is the trajectory I'm on. I used to be all about the mid, and if you go on my Dota buff, it's still dominated by mid heroes. Like, the majority of these most played heroes are mids. And when do I play Quap Storm, Puck, Windranger, Shadow Fiend? God.
That's 2015, Marco.
That's 2015. And then transition to the 1 in more recent times, but obviously my heart is at the 5. And I'm now like this POS 6 captain in my ranked games, so I've done the classic transition. But in party games, I'll go, okay, I'll play POS 1 Ricky. I don't mind. And that's my
That is not what you sound like when you pick Ricky. You're like, oh boy, here I go killing again. As Ricky, it's like 30 kills, 1 death. It's just like these poor people.
Yeah, so the POS 1, flavor is definitely strong. And I've been playing POS 1 mainly for the last couple years for certain. And then, to be fair, in ranked, I play 5. It is my best role now because I'm not mechanically that good. Or I play Centaur or Mars, and I just abuse solo ranked with those 2 heroes. Or I used to abuse it with Mars.
What's the difference, just before I go into my brief sort of Dota pass, but what's the difference between playing carry in our party games? What is it that's stopping you from... Obviously, you're not going to replicate it, but what's stopping you from playing 1 effectively in ranked, like versus 5? What's changes mostly?
So yeah, I honestly really have never tried to play 1 that much in ranked, largely because of the role thing that existed. So either I'd play classic, or I played classic, and it'd be really hard to get 1, or you queue multiple roles. Like I'd always queue 1, 3, 5. Never got 1 when I used to play. So I ended up just not playing much 1, and whenever I did, I always felt rusty because I just didn't play it enough. And so, to your point, it's just way harder. The players you're playing against are more punishing, are harder to exploit. You have to be on your toes so much more. You have to be way sharper for me to play solo ranked 1 versus in a party stack where it's a bit more varied. Whereas a 5, yeah, go on.
That's literally what I was just about to say. What about why is that different for 5?
Yeah, so it's literally that mechanical intensity as a 5 is way less. It's just about where is your hero placed, where you move in on the map, using your spells at the right time in the right place, warding in the right time in the right place. It's just mechanically way less intense. So it's so easy for me to just play 5 out of nowhere because I'm not spamming ranked every day. So it's so easy to just go into the 5. Whereas the 1, I just feel too rusty to do it in ranked.
Yeah. Although, in defense of your versatility, you certainly didn't get immortal playing 5, like, because you've been like a very high rank for a long time. Unlike Adam, who back when was randoming, maybe that was inhibiting him, and then went on some crazy climb with Lich CM. Whereas when you got to your high rank, it was playing mid and then again playing 1. I remember you getting immortal when they introduced that, because obviously we didn't used to have badges. And I remember when they added the badges, the first climb was with carry. Yeah,
that is true. So that was, I think, 2018 like the start of 2018, last year of uni, playing the morph, abusing the morph. But yeah, mid as well. So I mean, it's just like over the last couple of years, if you don't play ranked all the time, it's hard to sustain mid. I mean, impossible to sustain mid. So I quickly dropped that, and then even the 1 was harder to sustain. So dropped that and just abuse Centaur or Mars, and then Wyvern in the 5. So yeah, it's been a bit of a up and down journey of what positions I like to focus on, but I'd say 1 now.
Cool. And then me, I only started in 2017, who can believe it, and March time then, I think. So I've never even seen TI6, so sucks to be me. And I calibrated at 1,700 MMR, which is...
that's crazy.
I know, yeah, 1,700 MMR. And I only mentioned that to sort of lessen the blow of being Ancient 5 now compared to my Immortal Gods co-host. But one day, I'm still young in my Dota career compared to these 2 old men, so I still harbour hopes of divineness, although I was divine too for a time, so maybe return to the glory days at some point. And then I basically just played mid mostly the entire time. I don't feel like I've ever changed.
Meepo. You dirty
Meepo, yeah.
Resident Meepo player.
Dirty Meepo spammer, 327 games.
The first game first hero you really want to learn. This Meepo looks pretty cool.
Well, I remember first playing Wind Ranger and seeing a skill shot with the power shot, killing someone with power shot, and I was like, oh man, that was the sickest feeling, like a skill shot kill. I was like, oh, this game's pretty good. Because for some reason, the popular advice in the Dota community is to play Lich when you first start the game. That comes up so often, or at least it did in 2017, and after starting with Lich, I so disagree with that. I feel like that's not the hero to start with. And I almost feel like POS 5 isn't this hero to start with. We've had this discussion many times, so we won't go into it, but yeah, I played a lot of Meepo, and a lot of Lina as well. Lina is going to overtake Meepo soon, so I'm on 290 on Lina, so only, 37 games away from overtaking Meepo as my most played. So I'm sure that will happen as I've taken my foot off the gas with the Meepo. Although unlike Marco with his mechanical sort of
deterioration.
Deterioration. Meepo's there whenever I need him. So
we had some amazing. I mean, it's crazy they only started in 2017 because I feel like we were doing some big 5-stack party games in 2018. Yeah, I just remember that. Oh, wait, do I mean 20? Yeah, 2018, the first half of 2018. So you climbed really fast, which was expected because your background was always pretty good at games, good at StarCraft. But we had some sick party games in your earlier days when you were learning Meepo, and you'd be like a low ancient, but then you'd pick a Meepo and you'd kind of Super Saiyan yourself into this divine play, and we'd beat these like really imbalanced teams and stuff because the speciality was strong. Yeah,
oh, definitely. There's been times when Meepo's been the only hero that's... Like, my Meepo's like 2k MMR higher than all of my other heroes. And the Pit Lord as well. The Underlord's been there as well for Dark Times. That was a 95% win rate for a while.
God.
Or something stupid. Which just goes to show auras. If you're new to Dota and you need to climb, pick a hero with big teamfight auras and then buy more teamfight auras and win. That's the MO.
Honestly, Pit Lord could be a good first hero to start. Sack the POS 5. We've said it before. Let's not start playing Dota on a POS 5. Let's do something active that hits creeps, uses spells, whatever. Pit Lord could be pretty good at, honestly. Just get your body in there, click all your buttons.
Yeah. Yeah,
good, good practice.
It's an interesting one, yeah.
You'll stomp, surely?
Yes, although... yeah, I suppose so, yeah. Just forget the ult, and you're not going to understand what Atrophy Aura is doing, really.
Yeah, you just be like, I'm two-shotting people for some reason, but who knows why.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like the Pit Lord shout. So, Marco, should we do How Games? Has anyone got any highlight games they want to pick out from the last week?
Oh, I feel like there's a point I was going to say in some games. I had a good week, honestly. This week, it's been only 2 losses. I think, it's 3.
That's always nice.
Yeah, so it's been pretty positive. So I think the story is last week I played a couple non-core roles. Like I played a 3 in a 3 stack, so it was a bit awkward. Played a POS 4. I can't win a game on POS 4. So then earlier this week I went back to the 1 and got the Dro, got the Spec, got the Ricky, just slapping greens. Had a sad anti-mage game, so it always hurts my soul to lose anti-mage games, like more than any other hero. And it was one of those... I'll just speak about the anti-mage game. Really awkward. So say you play an anti-mage, and the dream anti-mage game is your 4 allies are stomping, so you just farm. That's the dream. And then say you go notch down, and it's say they're not stomping, but they're doing really well, and then maybe you TP to a fight and just clean up a couple of kills. That's the next best.
Like they're fighting out of the map, you're farming, but they're not winning the fights, but they're just like going even, and you've got free farms or thing.
I'd say that's the 3rd notch down. So say second notch is like they don't need you, but you turn up anyway to steal the gold. 3rd notch down is they do need me a bit, so maybe rather than a bit of a trade, if I turn up, we'll win the fight. And then you keep kind of going down this spectrum of how much kind of license you've got to ignore the team and farm. And this game I played as anti-mage last time, I was like, we were getting rolled just a bit too hard. And there was honestly like 3-4 times where in my head I'm like, I really just want to just farm. But my team's getting really slapped. And the dive in our tier 2 is like really hard. So I really feel like I need to go help, try and push them back, try and help, try and get involved. But then obviously when that happens a few times, even if you get some kills off it, your GPM's not as fast as it could be if I just put my head down farming, because I'm wasting like 30 seconds moving home and gauging when to go in or not. Just that. I've never had an anti-mage game where I felt that indecisive. And not that I was indecisive, I always kind of went to help the team, but like that pulled between, oh, my team's getting slapped too hard versus I want to farm. And so it was kind of weird, awkward, but interesting. They last picked Puck because I second phase anti-mage, and that really hurt. I had about 3 deaths just because you get coiled and it's just Imber lockdown. So it schooled me not to second phase anti-mage. I'm now just going to pick it only last, because that was a bit too painful.
Yikes. Adam, I saw you got a win on Jakiro in ranked.
Yeah.
That's pretty strong. I don't usually see the Jakiro come out for you in ranked.
That was a 4 Jakiro.
Nice. Versatility up.
Yeah. No, I usually, because I don't want to spend ranked match tokens, I'm just queuing hard support. So I usually queue both supports and ask for 5. And then sometimes someone's like, no, I want to play 5. So then I'm like, uh-oh, what 4 do I pick? My pool is so low.
You just pick a 5 disguised as a 4.
Basically. But Jakiro can at least farm.
That sounds fun as a 4, because items on Jakiro is very strong.
It is. Axe Jakiro, fun lane, especially against just a PA. They had an Oracle, so he would, purge off the dots, but that's no biggie. We have too many dots between us. So that was a nice comeback. And then I had a game, a Crystal Maiden game, where I love this, is when you have like a really competent safe laner and you like secure their first few levels and then you just leave. And they're strong enough to hold their own. And then Dota Buff classifies you as a jungler, as the 5, because you just gave them all the XP and you went and stacked camps and here and there frostbite a creep. And so it says Dire Jungle Lost for my Crystal Maiden. And that is the best type of Dota.
Yeah.
I don't know why it would say lost though. I think I won the jungle.
Feed into the neutrals.
Yeah.
But then my PL ended up 14-0 and 13, so it was the right thing to do.
Nice. PL in this meta, let's go.
Against a Void, yeah. It was really nice when PL finally decided to TP the lane to the off lane for a fight, and he's level 15 and their Void's level 9, and it's like,
oh my word. Yes,
this is it.
Yeah.
Stan, do you want to tell us about your turbos playing Tinker?
I had to abandon my last one. Very sad. Very, very rare that I have to abandon a game. This is the first game I've abandoned in over a year, I think. I can't remember at all, and not abandon in rage or anything. I had to go because I'd promised someone I would be done at a certain time, and then for some reason thought I could get a turbo in and couldn't. Turbo's a wild game mode as well. That game was going well until I abandoned. I played against a Monkey King mid as Tinker and got absolutely ruffle stomped in the lane. I was level 4, he was level 7 because it's turbo and you get 1 kill and it's just like they're 3 levels ahead. And then I got travel, I got my items because it's turbo, and then killed the MK like a couple of times in team fights, and suddenly I was way ahead of him. Like, turbo is just a wild game mode. I don't really feel like I have a lot to report. I've actually played a ton of games this week. This has been my heaviest week in a long time. I played like 20 games or something. That's lockdown for you though. I don't really have much to report. I won a game on Lena. That's nice. It's the only ranked game I've played. Oh, that's not true. I played many ranked games actually. I played 4 ranked games. Losses on Ogre Magi and OD, which begs the question, why am I playing Ogre Magi and OD in ranked? And then wins on Viper and Lena, so there's no surprises there. Some things never change. Viper and Lena are to Divine, I think. So, topic of the day, / topic to begin it all, position 4 in the meta. Marco, you listened to part of, or most of, our first ever episode yesterday, and inspired us to revisit the topic that we were talking about way back when, over, how long ago? Like a year and a half ago?
Over a year and a half. It's nearly 2 years. We recorded, I think, it's like the 25th of Jan?
Wow, yeah.
2019?
2018. 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's close to 2 years now.
Yeah, approaching the 2-year mark. It's pretty strong.
Very strong, yeah. And, well, I suppose we just get into it, right? I mean...
Yeah, I can mention the funny contrasting points from that episode. Yeah, it's just funny.
Are we any better? Are we any better as podcasters now?
I think we're better.
Nice.
I strictly remember the first question Stan asks, and you and I just are just stone silent, just like, dang, that's a hard question. Like, we don't even know how to answer it.
Yeah. I remember starting with some overly hard question that I'd prefaced a little bit before we started recording. I was like, I'm going to ask this question that's like hard, which, by the way, I mean, back when we actually planned episodes.
Yeah.
And then I asked it, and the way I like rambled into the question caught you all off guard. You're like, wait, what have you just asked me? Like, what?
Just stunned. Paralyzing cast bouncing between me and Adam for it. But no, it's funny to reminisce the meta back then, just because it brings lots of memories back. And so there was a lot of talk about the suicide meta of a Skywrath or Dirge. And then it made me think, why is suicide meta gone? I mean, it seems to have been patched bit by bit over...
Yeah, they increased the time... They increased the linger time on damage. So, like, if you take damage, you used to be able to suicide under tower and no one would get anything after how much time? I can't remember. But that's been increased.
They bumped it up from, like, 15 to, like, 30 seconds or something. I don't remember. But it was significant to where you couldn't just...
It wasn't
throw
worth
yourself
it
out of tower. Yeah, you had to wait around for a while. And then also... the neutral denying, like, you just are dead for so long.
The other a big funny talking point is the XP talent, where you would get plus 30 or 40% XP gain, and yeah, that was just an imber broken tool. And it's funny how over the course of the pod, respawns died, XP talents died, gold talents died.
Didn't we even say that we thought XP talents would get taken out of the game? Yeah,
you oracled it.
Nice.
And then there's a lot of Tusk chat, because Tusk is, in my eyes, quintessential Pods 4 hero. And then that made me think, God, do you remember when Tusk had frozen Sigil? What dog crap was that? Like,
yeah, that was not... That was not as good of a 4 version. I mean, he was still a 4, but, like, man, tag team.
God, the contrast.
Sigil,
so good.
God.
Slow someone by a little bit, slow their attack.
Sigil was always like, oh, I'm going to scout Roche with this.
Yeah.
It's such a bizarre spell as well. Like, why has Tusk just got a flying vision sigil thing? I mean, I know you could say that about any spell. Why has he got eye shards? But it just seems odd to me. It doesn't seem like a hero that has... Like, it makes sense for Beastmaster to have Hawk, but it just makes no sense for Tusk to... I don't even know what that is. It's like a flying spaceship of ice. It's just... I don't get it.
One of the most unloved spells in the whole game. No one is excited to skill Sigil or to use Sigil. Like, it moves at about 100 MS. It never does value.
So, I suppose now we've talked a little bit about, or you've outlined a little bit, how the meta was back then. I suppose that it begs the question, how has it changed now? The first question that we considered in the first episode was, what's the job of the POS for this meta? So I suppose that we should maybe spend a little bit of time discussing that. I know back then, the dual lane meta was really, really strong. We've sort of flirted with tri-lanes a bit since then. I feel like the 2-1-2 meta's not as sealed in as it was then, but I mean, would you agree that 2-1-2 is still dominating pubs and dominating pros to a similar extent? Maybe not.
Yeah, I think I disagree. I think 2-1-2 is stronger now, and I think back then, so I mean, we're nearly 2 years ago, I think there was more roam action and potential. I think because of maybe the bounty rune system, how you used to have a lot of roaming because of was it bounties gave XP as well as gold, something like this, and I think that opened up a lot more roamer potential. Whereas I feel like in today's world, it's 2-on-2, and then it's TP rotations will change it. And I mean, there's a little bit of the pos 4 can roam if the lane goes well, but I think the convention is 2-on-2.
Yeah, definitely the convention, no doubt.
Lane domination.
Yeah, more than roam.
So when you think of the role now of pods 4, do you think lane domination comes first, or is it hero dependent? Because when you take a hero like Earthshaker, he's a very, very popular pos 4, both in pubs and pros. His laning's quite weak. I know you can do some funky stuff with Fisher blocks, but he's not exactly a strong laner, but he's still very popular.
Yeah.
But that seems to be maybe a bit of counter evidence for the point of lane domination, or do you think that's like a special case?
I think Shaker's always been a bit of a special case because he's a bit more of a weaker, more synergistic hero. When I think of the 4, I think priority 1 in these days is lane dominator, followed by second, you could say lane controller. So someone who's there to get the creep equilibrium correct, pull the hard camp, disrupt the hard camp, just kind of help that laning go a bit smoothly for the 3. Then third, I think mid rotator, and then fourth at a stretch, some TP rotator to the safe lane. I think that would be the most dominant 1 through to 4 points for the pos 4 in today's world. And I don't think it's always been that order.
Yeah. Adam, what do you think about the most prominent pos 4s that you see at the moment, and why are they effective? Is it because their heroes are good, or is it because they fit the meta well?
Well, isn't a hero good because it fits the meta well?
Well, I mean, take some of the popular pos 4 heroes, I don't know, like Rubik or Tusk or ET or something. I guess, which one, you can choose any of them that you want, but are they good because the meta suits them, or are they good just because the heroes are like busted sort of thing? Have they been overbuffed, or are they suiting the meta? I suppose I'm just looking at the different heroes and wondering why they're good at the moment, why they're picked a lot.
This is you've stumped me. This is like we go back to episode 1 here. Yeah,
some things never change. I still ramble into questions. I mean, it's a question you've got to take case by case.
I think there are some good like lane duos, like Mars Rubik. I don't see a lot of Rubik, but Rubik's always so popular.
Dude,
it's hard to say. Is he popular just because people think he's fun? Or, I mean, I think he's quite good with Fade Bolt in lane, but then he's very feast or famine after that. Yeah. Things like Tusk. Tusk may not be the most popular right now, but like when you think of before, I think of Tusk. Rubik, I think of as just like a greedy 5. I never want to see it as a 5, but it's like he doesn't really initiate. I think like 4, when I think of it as someone that makes things happen through rotations, or like can just make things happen in the game. So Tusk, Earth Spirit, Phoenix,
Tiny Clock.
Yeah, Clock. Big spells. Rubik's much more dependent on what you can steal, and that's where his I guess besides being a pseudo lane dominator with Fade Bolt. I think of things that can make stuff happen on the map, whether that be rotating mid with a smoke, or just counter TP, or be really annoying in the lane to the safe laner.
Shout out to Ludicrous Cobra's Rubik yesterday. That was really good. I think it's hard to get a good Rubik because it's, like you say, it's kind of a griefy 5. They just want to do their own thing, and so it's often quite hard to integrate the Rubik value into the team.
And everyone sees Yapsor like Fade Bolt snipe heroes all the time, and they're like, that's what I'm going to do too, but they don't realize he also backs it up by being good.
Yeah, he's annoyingly good that he makes everyone want to play Rubik.
Also, I feel like when people pick Rubik 5, and even 4 to an extent, but particularly 5, you don't just on a mindset perspective, you don't want your 5 to be choosing their hero based on imagining them stealing a black hole and like winning a team fight, rather than thinking about what's going to make the carry's game really good. They're just thinking about their own plays, like flashy plays.
Every Rubik picks it for the kick of when they do a good spell steal once in the game, and they have no regard for anything else. And so they'll just
doesn't matter that they've died 16 times because they have no armor or HP, and they're like 280 move speed.
It's a little mini game.
It's funny as well because Rubik was never considered, at least in my mind, to be a lane dominator until recently, the last 6 months to a year. I think it's been different for the pros, but certainly in pub Dota, it's taken a while for people to look at this Fade Bolt spell and think, wow, this Rubik hero is actually a lane dominating hero. You see it thrown around at tournaments, but traditionally that's not been the case. He's always been seen as a weaker laner that comes into his own later, at least in my world. Looking at some of these other heroes, I feel like one hero that's a popular POS 4 that, well, Marco can tell me whether this hero was name dropped in the first episode, but Elder Titan. This hero is lane domination to a crazy degree, and then transitions into some decent right-click damage, even for a support, and Roche control, which is obviously very nice. ET, to me, feels like a hero that is just very busted at the moment, and not necessarily one that the meta fits really well. I don't know if you'd agree with that, or ET seems to be spiking the meta quite nicely.
Busted isn't good.
Yeah, busted good, as in he needs to be nerfed rather than the meta shifting, causing him to not be prominent.
I think he's one of these footy ones where the pub scene doesn't grasp the ET very well. It's really uncommon because people...
I mean, he's hard to play, so like...
Yeah, hard to play. But then the reason he's picked in the pro team, I do think has a lot of draft factor into it, as opposed to picking it because it's a good hero in pubs. So I think in the pro team, you know what I mean? Like the resistance reduction stuff that he's got going on, that can have a lot of team synergy that isn't considered in pubs. And then, it's a hard hero to play. It would be a lane dominator. That's probably true. But then it's like doing big stomps and, again, this resistance stuff. After the lane, it gets a bit vaguer and harder to, I think, know what to do as the ET optimally. So pubs are just like, fuck this.
It's one of those things where you have to, if you see someone in the game, they have a level 25 Elder Titan, you're like, oh, I'm in for it. I'm about to lose because someone that spent that much time to learn it, they actually know what to do. They know how to stack the camps and get a bunch of astral spirit damage, and then they know how to like itemize.
Yeah, I think you could give ET to a good player, and if they're not familiar, I think they'd very easily have very low impact. Whereas if you give someone give someone who's a good player, like a CM, or just someone who spells and kits just that bit simpler, they'll have way more impact.
Yeah,
I'll say, watch out now with the CM.
Yeah. I feel like we've lost this aggro option of spam and die. The Sky Undying, you don't see that anymore like we did way back when, almost 2 years ago. But the new version of that is sort of lane domination, right? Aggressive position 4, lane dominating position 4. And you might want to put your ET into that. Maybe your Clockwork. I mean, Clock's not a lane dominator. It's more of like a kill potential. It's a bit different. And something like a Tusk as well. He's not really a lane dominator, more of a kill potential hero. Are those two different things, or are they the same kind of thing, you know?
I think they are a bit different, because you think of these, like the Rubik shout is a good lane dominator shout, because all Rubik wants to do, he's got a Fade Bolt to boot, and that's it. So you're not killing someone. That Fade does not help you get a kill. It does damage and stops them being able to CS or trade effectively. And with that,
secures you range creeps.
You get the range creeps, you get the CS, and you dominate the creeping. As well, they can't do that. What they can do is say disrupt pulls because they've got a meaty body, or they can do their own pulls, and that helps the lane equilibrium. Say, and then if a kill happens to appear, they can make it happen with Cogs, Battery Assault, or Tag Team Shards, say. So yeah, it is a bit different.
And then looking towards the Tusk sort of mold, that kill potential mold, Tiny and Earth Spirit come to mind for other heroes. Maybe Void Spirit, although I think Void Spirit's a little bit different. They obviously want to roam, right? They want to provide kill potential in lots of different lanes, not just sit in the off lane for 10 minutes. Where do they fit into the meta? Do you think that style of Thor's in a good place right now, or are you skeptical of the impact relatively compared to other metas of the Earth Spirit, Tusk, Tiny, Roamer?
I feel like it died when the Roamer lifestyle got nerfed, and I do think it was to do with bounty runes and XP. I swear they gave XP in some kind of macro changes like this, but now I feel like in more recent times, last year, that Roam playstyle has come back in favour and is more legitimate, and lanes don't have to be as stuck 2-1-2 as maybe they were a year ago, perhaps.
It all comes down to matchups and where the wave is relative to your tower.
Yeah.
In terms of whether you then rotate.
Yeah, if your 3 is like at their tower and they can get a wave solo, that frees you up to make a play somewhere else, either smoking or TPing in really fast. But you can't just be this waddler back and forth between the lanes, because I feel like you don't get as much experience for kills to make that worth your while. Like you can go bottom, get a kill, go middle, get a kill, and then you'll still be like level 2 on Tusk, and then you don't scale as hard. You need to be able to get some lane creeps.
Also, there were metas where the off lane pos 3, it was kind of okay or accepted for them to not have a good lane, or to struggle, or to not get lots of XP gold, say, and be a bit discarded. But I think in today's pos 4 world, it is imperative that you enable the offlaner to have a lane to some extent, be that from your aggression on the kills, or through the lane dominating, or just through the creep equilibrium pulling kind of plays. It does feel more imperative these days that your offlaner has some sort of lane, and then secondary, can I do that rotation?
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely imperative that you try. I do feel like the meta where all 3 cores were all top of the net worth, and you'd see a net worth graph with all 6 cores at the top and then a big gap up to the sports. That meta's, I think, disintegrated now, and it is a carries meta again, and the carries do crush the net worth chart. Then you see the mids, then you see the offlaners, then you see the 4, then you see the 5, almost with a linear progression in net worth.
Yeah.
Which suggests that perhaps the offlane is at the very least harder than it once was, which maybe does allow some more roaming than before. I do think that Tiny in particular, but also Earth Spirit and Tusk, they are really popular heroes again at the moment. So I think it definitely can work, and I've certainly been crushed by many more Earth Spirits and Tusks and Tinies than in the past, when you'd see almost 2 pos 5s, or maybe an Earth Shaker or a Rubik and sort of mold. So I do think there is value to the roam. It's just a bit different because I feel like on the other side of the coin, it's a carries meta also into the mid game. So these heroes like Tusk and Tiny, it's less common that you're roaming snowballs into like quick towers and quick pushes and 5-man stuff. It's more of a situation where you might gank a bit in the lanes, and then in the mid game you're in sort of like a 3-man death squad, maybe a 4-man death squad while one hero farms, as opposed to just, wow, I picked Tusk, let's just win the game 25 minutes, and you never fall off and you're just always crushing kill. Now it's like, it's more gank, you know.
On the kill, I mean, I guess this mid game point in time, I think when you've got faster games, I think that naturally favours the more intel of 4s that have zappy spells, monkey business, DotA, right? Games won at 24 minutes. Whereas in today's world, I think because it's not as fast paced, and games are going to go longer, I do think it feels nicer to have that 4 that can transition into someone who's an initiator and a bit tanky and a bit of a front line, as opposed to just a member of a gank squad. And so because in these mid games you've got more skirmishes and it's not just zappy win a game in 15-20, I do think you often get more value from one of these meaty strength pos 4s that can initiate, can tank a lot of spells, can, I guess, scale a bit better. You'd think someone like a Tusk is going to scale naturally better than, say, a pos 4 lean is going to, just because they're going to be beefier and they're going to be more durable and maybe get more damage off because they don't die as easy. And so I think that favors a lot of these Roma-esque 4s, like your Tusk, like your Clock, or like your Earth Spirit.
Yeah, Clock and Tiny and Earth Spirit,
yeah,
and ET to an extent, I suppose, all would fit that mold, certainly, I think.
Whereas I think in the past you would see, I mean, I feel like there have been some metas where in the 4, because of the meta, so it's kind of going back to your cryptic question, say someone like Kotl, or even the Disruptor 4, I mean, Phoenix is a bit in the middle, but yeah, I feel like these other more spellcasting position 4s have had a time in the spotlight. Potem used to always be there, Invoker used to be there, but I feel like they got the spotlight because the meta suited them. So maybe you could say the meta suits these Roma strength heroes more, but to me they do feel more like quintessentially good 4s who do the role that was best suited for the 4, which is a bit of roam, bit of initiation, bit of tank and durability, as some of these other more sporadic hero choices that have appeared in the past.
Yeah, and Adam, you played a Jakiro 4, which is a nice little segue for talking about more of the supporty aspects, the more supporty heroes that you can find playing the soft support, as it were. Do you think it's super important to find farm on your 4, or do you think you can win and that the meta's open to more of the second support kind of role, playing a Jakiro or a Wyvern or a Kotl, maybe a Dark Willow or a Bane, even these heroes that don't naturally have farming ability, and don't naturally scale with a Blink, like a Tiny or an Earthshaker might. Do you think these heroes are just perfectly fine, viable in the 4 at the moment?
I think some of those heroes do scale well with gold, like Wyvern and Jakiro, or that they at least can farm.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, I suppose
Bane definitely cannot farm. So,
yeah,
I mean, he can't. He has no skills that do anything to creeps, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, but Jakiro, it feels amazing to just, because sometimes you need somebody to hold a lane, and Jakiro's the king at holding the lane. I held mid against the Lestrak for 4 minutes, and I had more. I was on par with my axe in terms of gold and XP, who was dominating the lane. I was more farm in the mid who had to leave, our puck, and sometimes that has to happen. He wanted to go around and coil people. And it's okay, that's fine. That's how you want to recover. We don't want to give a free tower just to a Lesh. So it's I macro pyro wave. Then I dual breath / liquid fire another wave, and he can never even get up to the tower. So
yeah, and would you say that that's more acceptable for you to do when you're playing Jakiro 4 versus when you're playing Jakiro 5? It's harder to get away with just sitting in a lane.
It just depends. I think you can do it as Jakiro 5. I played another game as that where we had a TB, I'm pretty sure, and when TB leaves and goes in jungles, you can't just leave the safe lane. Someone needs to take that gold. And I held that wave or that tower against the Nature's Prophet for just as long, and that's even better because you're killing all the treants too. So I think sometimes there are games where the 4 can do a little bit of farming, and it's because the 1 is taking the jungle, and then there becomes these extra lanes for you to take, whether it's you just need to hold a tower against them wanting to push it, or you're the person deep in their territory taking the risky farm and leaving up a ward type of a thing. that's totally fine for you to do on some heroes.
On a 4? Is that not the 3?
I mean, on a Jakiro or a Wyvern, like a Wyvern can do it easily because you have such good range on your W and you can Q into the trees and run away. I guess it just depends on your lineup. But I think heroes like Kiro are a little bit different than somebody like Tusk or Spirit. I wouldn't say you're like a team. You're definitely not a ganker, but you do have good. What do you want to say? Like TPN counter initiation. You have team fight in that like you scale really well in the late game because your ice path is so great, right? And even though it's typically a 5 with gold, it actually scales as opposed to something like, Lich isn't great with. Well, I think he's pretty good with gold, but I think typically people wouldn't think he's worthy of any amount of gold. I think Crystal Maiden's sneaky good with gold, but again, nobody's going to let you do anything with it. But Jakiro, for some reason, you can get away with it.
Yeah, it's always nice having Liquid Fire for free. No mana required. Just throw it out there. To flip this question around a little bit, then you talk about Jakiro and Wyvern and these heroes that you can play as a 4, almost like a 5, in the sense that it doesn't particularly matter whether you're 4 or 5. You're still going to hold up lanes. You're still going to get some gold and XP and stuff. So in that sense, I suppose it's fine to play a POS 4 in a similar-ish way to a POS 5 sometimes when you play these heroes. But why wouldn't, obviously farm a bit more and all that normal adjustments. Why wouldn't you see a hero like Tusk or Earth Spirit, or Earthshaker, Clock, etc.? Why wouldn't you see these heroes be played as 5, whereas you would see some 5s be played as 4? Why does it not really go the other way around?
I've seen some Clock 5, but yeah, I think that just comes down to protecting your safe laner. You have to have a pretty specific safe laner that wants to have a Tusk as your 5. You want to be kind of aggressive.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say, is it because 3s are naturally more aggressive, so they're naturally going to synergize more? Or
they're just naturally stronger at level 1. Yeah, like they're able to like do some things on their own. I think like in a vacuum, like what do you take like a PL level 1 versus a Mars? Sure. One of them needs to be protected a little bit more.
Sure. Yeah, that POS 1 is definitely typically going to be much more useless in the early game than your POS 3 is going to be. Because, think of Agi heroes playing POS 1, they're all useless.
Drow. Yeah. Drow's a little bit, maybe not as useless, but yeah, typically like AM level 1.
Yeah.
Although maybe AM is somebody that wants a Tusk level 1, if you want to be that aggressive.
But even then, it's not really what the AM wants to do. And
no.
They are just a bit too squishy, but the off-lane hero typically is going to be someone that can mash the aggression, strengthy, beefy kind of hero to play aggressive with. And why are they not 5? I think that comes to the 5's role is largely to be protective or defensive, reactive, and do as much as they can with as little resources as they can, be that gold typically. And these spell casting 5s can do that. They just need spells to do impact and be in the right place at the right time, and that's Gucci. Someone like a Shaker or a Clock or Earth Spirit, they want gold more, so they want to be a bit greedier and less babysitter. And even XP, honestly, you'd imagine your POS 4 is going to harvest more XP than your 5 in a typical game. And they're typically going to be more keen to do that because they need to be buffer, higher level, higher spells.
And there's there's something to be said about all the heroes you mentioned as 4s, making them 5s. They're all melee. And like melee 5 is it's like Abaddon, it's like I'm trying to think of
Ogre, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty bad for the most part. Like Earthshaker 5, awful.
I think
I won't say it's as bad. It's not like Lion bad, but it's not.
it's
You get two fissures and you're done.
yeah.
But
then I do, in terms of pub scene for POS 4, that these spellcasting inked heroes are more common, like your Rubik, Windranger, I don't know, Shadow Lion, for example, massively high pick rate, versus what I think are the better POS 4s, these strength heroes, basically, like your Tusk, Clock, Earth Spirit. And why? I think maybe that comes down to a bit of preference, that it's easier or more fun to play these spellcasters than it is to play someone who has to rotate at the right time and in the right manner, and like has limited mana pools. You have to be really correct with your spell usage, like a Shaker or a Clock is, say.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that preference comes into it a lot, but I do think the better for hero would be the more durable Roamer Initiator.
Yeah, I think there's so much value to having a tanky Initiator. Obviously, the reason you don't want your Lion blink hexing in to a team fight is because they're going to get blown instantly because they're a Lion. Same goes for Rubik and these other heroes. But when you have a Clockwork or a Tiny or a Shaker, or not necessarily a Shaker, but a Clock or a Tiny, or a Tusk, because they're these big beefy strength heroes, you get the initiation and you don't get that instantly blown up hero. You know, it doesn't come at such the same cost. And that's why these heroes are preferable in our mind, in pubs, because getting stuff started in pubs is harder. In organized Dota 2, yeah, maybe you can get away with more of the Rubik-y kind of play more. I say get away, you know, it's all marginal. Like, you can pick Rubik in pubs and you'll be fine, like, if you play it well. But just in terms of optimal meta, at least in our games, you know, these heroes initiate, which is very hard to come by in pubs, and are also durable, which is good for pubs when stuff's not super quick and you're often going to get punished and stuff like that.
I do think the pro scene for POS 4, its favourite heroes are Shaker, Tiny, and maybe Clock, Rubik coming up after. To me, that feels
Spirit,
the top tier position 4s.
Yeah,
maybe not.
So.
Maybe I'm biased. Crits on my mind too much, but definitely Shaker, definitely Tiny.
Yeah, definitely Tiny. I think Tiny dominates. I think Rubik's super popular as well. Rubik's in a lot of games in the pro scene.
Oh yeah, I think the pro scene just used Rubik so well. I don't think it's easy. It's obviously fun and there's a lot of buttons you can be pressing. So yeah, I think
just cast Fade Bolt.
Yeah, easier said than done.
I'd say he's much easier than playing a Shaker 4.
Yeah, that's true. But then you get your blink. It's kind of
not seeing me play Shaker then. I got an early memory of one of the first games I ever played Shaker. This was in a party game, and you were in it. Everyone was in it. And
I remember this.
Do you remember against the PL?
I think I remember. You just not use an echo.
No, it wasn't that. It was there was a PL. There'd been a big team fight, and I hadn't been there for whatever reason because I'm like bad at the game. This is when I was really bad. And I still had Blink Echo, and the PL had survived on not very much HP at all. And he was farming a wave just in a lane, and they'd created 1 million illusions. I didn't know what I was doing, so I asked, shall I just Blink Echo this guy? Shall I Blink Echo Slam to kill this PL? And you were like, yeah, I think so, definitely, yeah. And I Blink Echo on a Crete Wave plus all these PL illusions. It gets him to like a sliver of an HP, like one right click damage. And then I mess up the combo so he has a chance to doppelganger out, and then I don't kill him. And then I remember everyone being like, oh, you just needed to like press W quicker. Because I think can you combo it anyway? You can Alt W and you can Alt Fisher, and it should be. Is that max overcharge? Or
I think it's 3. That it's
3 points
possible. Maybe 2. But I think 3 is when it's possible.
Yeah, possible either way, Fisher or W.
I feel like 2 could be sufficient, but definitely 3.
Okay, interesting. Well, I remember messing that up in a fun game of Earthshaker 4 back in the day.
Yeah, that's so classic to not use the stun.
There are plenty of other heroes that we haven't really mentioned. I mean, we have to go there. We have to talk about the hero that I think by far is the most picked POS 4 in Dota.
Begins with P and rhymes with fudge.
Yeah, the Butcher Pudge. If someone's going to play Pudge 4, which a lot of people do, even in ranked, but a lot of people play Pudge 4, first of all, just definitively on the record, is it trash? And if so, what can you do to make it less trash?
Divine Plus this week, 10% pick rate, 44% win rate.
Oh, yeah.
That is grim.
Yikes.
That sounds about right.
In Crusader and below, 29% pick rate, 52% win rate.
29%?
That's pretty positive. Pretty positive.
1 in 3 games? Are you serious?
It's been higher. It's been higher for sure.
He's still the most popular, right?
Yeah. I don't think it's been the most popular almost the entire time I've been playing Dota. There was a bit of time where it wasn't. I can't remember what was more popular.
Might have been Wind Ranger.
Yeah,
or Lena. There was a time where Pudge was number 2.
Rubik Arcana, maybe?
No, it was before that. What first? Do you think? Why do you think it's got a good win rate in Crusader? Is this Pudge
hook magnets?
Hook magnets,
infinite scaling, and hook magnets,
infinite scaling. Yeah, I think it's hook magnets.
Yeah, hooks win games though.
Yes, that's the most frustrating part of Pudge is he can be absolute trash the entire game, and it's just a terrible hero. But he gets the one hook on a high ground push that wins it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Pudge Dota 2 feels weird.
Also one of my worst heroes, so I'm just triggered whenever it's in the game.
My Pudge is world class. I have a really good win rate on him. I can't remember what it is, or at least I did once. Maybe I've messed it up with a couple of games recently, but I'm gonna do a bit of clicking here. Find my Pudge win rate. I remember it used to be over 70%. Let's have a gander. Okay, 64%, so fall from grace, but it's not bad, yeah. On 22 games, so not the biggest sample size, but... Oh, what was I about to say? I can't remember.
I mean, how do you play Pudge with Impact?
I mean...
Blink first?
Blink first is, I think, really good. If you get a couple braces, beef yourself a little bit.
You're an Aether Lens fan, I know that.
Yeah, I used to always want to get Aether Lens for the longer plays, and also the ult, it really helps, because your ult cast range just gets quadrupled or something. So that's really helpful sometimes, but more recently I would skip Aether and more Blink focused, I think. Blink Hood, 2 braces, you're very beefy.
Wow, what a game here. My most recent Pudge game was back in 10 months ago, and it was a 3-stack with us 3, which is quite funny. And it was me with the off-lane. Off-lane Pudge. So me and Adam lanes Pudge Tusk, which is quite funny that Adam was playing Tusk in this game, given today's episode. Adam with the 32 assist Pudge game, Tusk game.
That's me in a nutshell. 32 assists.
Yeah, 32. You were 6, 8, and 32, so you had 100% kill involvement in our 38 kills.
Nice.
So that's very strong. We actually lost the kill game. It was 38-48 to the Radiant, but we won as Dire. Marco played a 16-2 Storm Spirit mid, so congratulations. And I was 12-9 on the Pudge, doing bits with Hook. We had a safe lane carry that was 6-10 PL, so
we carried.
We carried, yeah, the triple stack carry, yeah. But yeah, man, Pudge Blink first is probably the way to go, just for blink dismember, make your hero do something that isn't hooks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It gives you reliability of being able to add value because you can just blink on the hero and do something, as opposed to, oh, there goes another whiffed hook, and now you're a walking creep for 20 seconds.
Yeah, certainly. Mirana's another one that you see come up a bit. In the first episode, we joked about it because it used to be a meme. Mirana 4 used to genuinely be a meme. The kind of hero you would never see picked in pro games. Yeah. And then you'd see it in pubs all the time. And then TI8 happened and it was like the premier POS 4 hero. And suddenly now it's sort of like a staple POS 4.
Why did it become the POS 4 hero? What was it that rocketed into that S tier?
I know that part of it was that Shadow Demon and Bane were like the most popular 5s, so Mirana just becomes really good in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what else it was. Do you have any ideas, Adam, why it's suddenly a 4?
Well, you could arrow creeps to farm. Greaves was really popular on her. Elite for mobility, and then just like the classic Moonlight Shadow winning games.
Invisibility, yeah.
You did have a very nice kill threat though, and also they nerfed the arrow. It could be 5 seconds at level 1. That was a big thing. Like you just get these 5-second stuns, and then you leap in, get the double starfall, clean up anybody pretty much, and it shoves waves really well. Starfall.
Yeah, it certainly does. I think the Greaves route let it be useful with gold, so you'd put it 4, whereas before, it'd only be useful as a right clicker, so you'd only see it mid, or maybe POS 1. You used to see it POS 1 a little bit, but it's now become Greaves just open up a new route for the hero to be played POS 4, I think.
Yeah, I think also why it was OP, I think Iroh did used to be way better, or a lot better. Like you say, with that 5-second stun at level 1, it's now 3.5 max at level 1. Things like its projectile speed got quite a big increase at one time, then that had to get nerfed. The damage Arrow did at level 1 used to be higher as well. So, yeah, it seems to just kind of trickle to this. Oh, wait, it's now a really strong point, and all of a sudden it's in every game. But yeah, it was weird, that phase of memeing about Potem, and then it becomes the premier pick.
Yeah. Finally, then, before we wrap up the episode, some sort of special case heroes maybe that are dialed in POS 4s that we haven't really talked about. I mean, Dark Willow comes to mind for me as a hero that's 100% POS 4. You're not going to play it anywhere else, really. Is this hero any good?
You're not really going to play it at all, I hope.
Well, get Ags, POS 1, let's go.
Willow, Disruptor, Kotl, these spellcasting POS forms, I feel like they did have a place at one point in time, but I think meta just puts them out of place. They can't.
She's so not tanky.
Yeah, they were too weak. And
you think that Shadow Realm, it's not enough to make her not just melt. There's a lot of like stuff now that just goes. It doesn't have to be targeted. Just goes through the Shadow Realm, and then by the time she pops back out, she's dead.
Mars Tiny just blowing her up anyway.
Yeah. And then Io. Io 4, very, very popular in pro scene, but obviously in pubs, maybe a bit of a different story. What do you have to say about Io in a pub setting? Is it just, if you can play it, congrats, don't recommend? Is that...
That's too much work to coordinate.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think you can make it work in pubs, or are you just like barking up the wrong tree?
You got to be committed to the IO if you're going to make it work.
You buy a Helm of the Dominator and make your own partner.
I think party stacks go for it, I think. Like, if you want to play some IO in a party, that could be quite fun. Like a duo stack, IO Sven, IO Luna, IO Gyro, duo stack could be quite fun.
Yeah. Yes, true grated teeth.
I want to play Io. Would you do that? Would we do Marco? Would you do a duo lane with me? You can pick some hero, and I'll pick Io.
Probably would.
But you're going to go into it thinking I'm playing without a pos 5.
Nah, I'd do a gyro. I mean, yeah, I'd only do it if you were the IO.
Yeah,
I've got Stan's trust. I need Stan's trust. It's so funny to go to the game segment again. I had a classic moment of the blind allyship from Stan so I was the leaner. I was diving tier 3s. Yule's someone who's a enemy tier 4 kind of thing. But in my head, I always knew I was semi-committal. I wasn't fully committal.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a spell leaner. I don't need to go to the tier 4s just to use them whilst I'm at the tier 3. But then Stan just Slark pouncing right into the tier 4s. And I'm like, in my head, I was like, bro, I didn't want to commit this hard, but
that's because
you just saw me running in. So you were like, I want to go.
Well, I kind of like playing with you because I know that it's sort of like go time all the time.
Yeah.
It's just kills like aggro. So I feel like I know with you that it's never in my head, oh, does he want me to fly in? Does he not want me to fly in? It's always, I feel like it's always 99% he wants me to fly in.
99 times out of 100, I need you there. But it does happen 1 in 100 where I'm like, I bait you into it, basically. And I'm like, oh, actually, sorry, that was semi-commit. So anyway, that level of companionship warrants the gyro, IO willingness. I don't think I would do any other time.
Nice. That's good to know. It warms my heart that you're letting me be IO for you.
Yeah.
Let me be IO for him.
Would you put your neck on the tier 4 line?
I would relocate you into the tier 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any closing thoughts on POS 4? Anything you feel like we haven't covered, or any other final observations then versus now?
No.
Thank you.
I mean, no GPM talents, no XPM talents, nerfed runes. I think the moon huts were already gone. The shrines were already gone.
Oh, were they?
I don't know.
No, definitely not. Shrines
were not gone, but outposts hadn't come yet. I think
shrines have been a thing for ages. Weren't shrines a thing at TI9?
I don't remember which form of shrines, because they've undergone like multiple forms as well.
Yeah. Shrines were a thing at TI9 for sure. That's the last time shrines happened, and then outposts were introduced in the big patch after. So,
quick Google, it says 7.24 removes shrines. So that's 27th of Jan 2020.
Yeah, man.
So wow, TI9.
Right before or like right after our first episode?
No, a year after.
A year after.
2020. Okay, never mind. Yeah. That was probably just when there was just the ones in the jungle.
Yeah, possibly. Rather than the 10 in your base or whatever.
Yeah. And then the ones, that they wouldn't turn on until after laning stage.
Oh, yeah. You used to have them at the start. How mad was that? Crazy.
Trade on a rune, go with full health. Smiley face.
Yeah, so bonkers. Changed laning so much when that happened. Yeah. I will say then a final word, PSA from a mid player. If it's 4 minutes or 6 minutes or 8 minutes or whatever, but particularly 4 and 6, and you're not sure what to do on a POS 4, go to that power rune. Please go to that power rune. There's nothing I like more than guessing wrong for a power rune, but like my POS 4's got me covered or my support's got me covered, and gets the other one so the enemy mid doesn't get it. That's always a great feeling, and you'll usually get a tip out of me for that. So there you go, PSA.
My final PSA, I think pulling the hard camp as a POS 4 is the biggest value you can do.
Definitely. People do that with heroes that push the lane. I've seen plenty of pro games where someone goes playing Phoenix or whatever, they go Fiery Spirits level 1 and literally just use them on creeps and then pull the wave straight away. Because they know that they've got some sort of duo lane that they feel like the enemies can't contest their pull. So they just instantly push the wave and pull like straight away. So yeah, I'll second that. Join us again next week. We'll be back as always, episode 116. and join the Discord, all that good stuff. Come and say hi, join the guild if you're a hardcore gamer. And until then, have a final whistle like always.
Hardcore gamers only.